Mason Crosby will kick off to Danny Amendola. Picked up just this week, adding some speed for the Rams on the return. Last run back for a touchdown on a kickoff by a Ram was Chris Johnson in 2007. Week 3, game on. From his own end zone, Amendola has room. And it took the kicker, Crosby, to keep him from breaking it.
And Amendola, which, like you mentioned, was just signed off the practice squad from Philadelphia. He was really brought over because of his comfort level and his background with Coach Shermer and understanding this offense to give him another weapon in the offensive side of things. And then all of a sudden in the return game, he provides some explosiveness right from the get-go.
A 42-yard return. Mark Bulger brings out the offense, and just last week with a pass completion became the all-time Ram leader in that department. Moving past Jim Everett. Steven Jackson in the backfield on 1st and 10 from the 44. Hand off inside to Jackson. He gets nothing. Checking the Ram lineup. Jason Smith, their top rookie tackle, injured. But their center, Jason Brown, who was also beat up last week, practiced all week and is in the middle.
And Jason Brown is their big free agent signee that they got this offseason from Baltimore. He's bringing that leadership to that offensive line group. And like you mentioned, Jason Smith being out, Adam Goldberg's going to fill in for him over at right tackle.
2nd down and 11. Jackson again. Picks up a couple of yards. And the Packer defense, and Trent, you talked about Dom Capers, the defensive coordinator, bringing a 3-4 approach. And up front, their #1 pick, B.J. Raji, will be available to play for the first time this year. Can help him out inside or on the end position.
And the biggest adjustment on the Packers defense has to be for Aaron Campman. He's been a down defensive end in a 3-point stance, but now they have him playing outside linebacker, but he hasn't missed a beat. He's still leading the Packers in tackles so far this season.
Woodson and Harris, 2 of the best corners in the game. On 3rd down. Bulger pass is complete to Ron Robinson for a Ram 1st down inside the 45-yard line of the Packers.
And LaRon Robinson has quickly become Mark Bulger's go-to guy. If you look at what's happened the last 2 weeks and then here today on a key 3rd down to keep this drive going, he looks in LaRon Robinson's direction, comes up with a big 1st down catch, and that's someone they've been leaning on all season, and look for that relationship to continue to build today.
13-yard pickup. He came in, Robinson did, with 11 catches to lead the team. They acquired him from Atlanta in a trade, and he has become a star receiver on 1st and 10. Jackson, his 3rd carry, room for Steven. Near another Ram 1st down before Charles Woodson slowed him down.
And exactly what we talked with Steven Jackson about is getting him involved early and getting him touches repeatedly. 3 of the first 4 plays have been running plays to Steven Jackson. Here, his patience and his vision getting through the hole. Once you get to that 2nd level, a powerful back like Steven Jackson is going to run through those arm tackles.
11-yard pickup, a 1st down. Each year his carries have gone down, or at least his average carries. He's still one of the most productive players in the NFL. Opening drive for the Rams, and they're moving. Jackson carries. This time the Packers are ready to smother him for a loss.
And if the Rams see the way the Packers defended that play there, they put 8 guys in the box. They went one-on-one with their 2 Pro Bowl corners, and they left him with one-on-one matchups. So if the Rams are going to be facing this all day, they've got to go to the pass, and they've got to rely on those guys to win those one-on-one matchups. Even though on paper it looks they've got the 2 Pro Bowl corners they're going against, but they've got to go after those one-on-one matchups.
So it'll be 2nd down and 12. Bulger, quick pass. What a one-handed grab by Randy McMichael, who's knocked down at about the 30-31-yard line. It'll bring up a 3rd down.
And in this West Coast offense, the tight end has to be involved. And Randy McMichael hasn't been involved as much these first 2 weeks. It's going to be important for him to get involved to make these doable 3rd down distances. Right there, that was a great catch on Randy's part. He puts him in a makeable 3rd down situation. Instead of 3rd and 10, now it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. And this is much more percentage-wise the advantage of the Rams.
And Josh Brown in range for him for the Rams, thinking 1st down, but don't want to lose any yardage. Packers threatening blitz. Quick pitch, ball is fumbled forward. And it's going to be an incomplete pass.
Yeah, that's going to be an incomplete pass. That was a shovel pass, and The Packers just were caught up there, bringing a number of players, causing some problems on the offensive front for the Rams because of the type of pressure they put in on that down. And the good thing about that, it's low risk. It's generally going to be an incomplete pass if it's not completed. And just a good job by the Green Bay defense. So you can see Campman reads that and blows that thing up right away.
The Ram offense has scored just one touchdown in 2 games. They have a chance with a 48-yard field goal from Josh Brown, who's made 81% of his kicks in a 9-year career. And the kick is partially blocked, and the Packers have it. That's Will Blackman, who's a return man. Look out. He runs it back across the 45. And the Ram offense, after an impressive opening drive, is sputtered as Johnny Jolly gets a hand up on the field goal attempt. Along with Trent Green, Chris Myers here in St. Louis. First offensive possession for the Packers. Hand off to Ryan Grant, maybe a yard. Aaron Rodgers, a full season as a starter, played hurt, but amassed more than 4,000 yards. The only other guy to do it, familiar to Ram fans, Kurt Warner.
And Aaron does feel a lot more comfortable this year. He said last year with all the distractions, the whole Brett Favre story that was going on, he did have a good season. He did put up some good numbers, but he felt there were some games there that they left out there that they could have won, and he's looking to improve on that this year.
Emphasized quicker decisions and a quicker tempo for this offense in this game. Grant has room near a first down. As we check the lineup, and the starting offensive line, Chad Clifton, the longtime left tackle, out with an injured ankle, so Scott Wells goes to center. Darren College, who got somewhat abused against Cincinnati last week, is your left tackle.
And Jason Spitz moves over from the center position to the guard position. So because one injury caused quite a bit of reshuffling, 3 different guys moving to different positions along that offensive line.
James Butler, the starting safety, injured. Starting safety James Butler, they're checking his left knee. He played under Steve Spagnuolo with the Giants, a free agent signee here with the Rams. So Craig Dahl, third-year player from North Dakota State, in at safety on 1st and 10 for the Pack. Rodgers fakes. Quick pass is complete. He has his tight end Donald Lee for a couple of yards. Checking the defensive lineup with the Rams, already one change there, but the guy the Packers were all worried about is number 21. They referred to him as a Shimago Otagwe, otherwise known as OJ. Mike McCarthy called him one of the NFL's best safeties.
And the man in the middle, rookie James Laurinaitis, second-round pick. He's done a great job taking over the leadership role. He does defensive signals, and he's also 4th in the NFL in tackles right now.
2nd down, 8. Grant carries, and the Rams are there to smother him. It'll bring up a 3rd down. Will Witherspoon from the weak side linebacker spot. Now, Green Bay did practice indoors at the Don Hutson Center on Friday so that they could crank up the noise. They knew they were going to be in a dome here, a sold-out Edward Jones Dome.
And Aaron Rodgers told us they are looking to take some shots downfield. And I thought there, when you see him changing the play and recognizing that the Rams were stacking the box and he had some one-on-one routes on the outside, I thought he was second to a pass there because he had talked about taking shots downfield.
3rd and 9. Penalty flag comes in from the secondary as the pass is incomplete. You can see James Laurinaitis jumping around before the snap. He calls the defensive plays, of course.
Well, they had a pressure call there. They had a blitz call there, which was going to leave a lot of one-on-one coverage. All of a sudden, Steve Spagnuolo, you could see him on the sideline going crazy, trying to get Laurinaitis a signal.
Holding, 55, defense. That penalty's declined. Play results in a 1st down.
But sometimes the crowd noise can cause problems. You can see Laurinaitis looking to the sideline, and he's trying to get the signal to the secondary and to the other linebackers to drop into coverage. Unfortunately, he gets called on the penalty there and gives the Packers 1st down.
It looked like the pass was complete or incomplete, so you think that the Packers would take the penalty. Walt Coleman will clarify. Steve Spagnuolo
will be accepted from the previous spot. First down.
So Walt Coleman does clarify. Coleman, a fifth-generation operator of Coleman Dairy Farms. He was recently inducted into the Arkansas Hall of Fame. Laurinaitis not happy about the result of that play, and Steve Spagnuolo hoping his defense now will tighten here. It's a fresh set of downs just inside the 40 of the Rams. Greg Jennings lines up on the right. Somebody, Rogers, said they want to get the ball to a lot in this game. Grant in the backfield. Passes right on target to Donald Driver. Pushed back, but it looked like he got far enough for a Ram first down.
With the ball inside the 30-yard line now, this is the area that last week against the Redskins that the Rams defense really anchored down in there, and they didn't allow the Redskins to get any touchdowns. They held them to 3 field goals. They did a very good job in the red zone defense. They're going to need that again today right here in the first quarter. With
that catch, Driver moving up the yardage list. Second now to James Lofton, and he's inching closer to the all-time reception leader. First and 10. Ryan Grant carries, but not a lot of room. The Ram defense ready for him that time.
We talked on the other side of the ball about Steven Jackson getting carries, and he wanted to get more involved in the running game. But the same thing holds true for the Green Bay Packers. I know Ryan Grant has talked about getting more touches, getting more carries, and getting the run game involved instead of leaning so heavily on the pass.
The last year, Ryan Grant, one of 5 running backs to carry 300 times or more, and he said, hey, I'll keep doing it. I want the football. Jennings and Driver on the left for Rogers. 2nd and 11. Rogers under pressure, and he goes down. And Leonard Little is there. The 11th sack in just 2 games and a quarter for this Green Bay offensive line.
And unfortunately, to begin the season, they've had problems with giving up sacks. With the injury to Clifton and the adjustments on the offensive line, that continues to be a problem today. You can see there was no coverage. There was no receiver open down the field. The Rams had good coverage there, and Leonard Little was left one-on-one and got the pressure on Aaron and got the sack.
82nd career sack for Leonard Little with Deacon Jones in the building. Crowd buzzing, and the Packers are going to burn a timeout. From just inside the 35-yard line, it's early in the head coaching career of Steve Spagnuolo and this season, but an important third down for the Ram defense.
It is. Right now, the Packers are going to be set for a 52-yard field goal if they don't get any yardage at all. But the Rams defense last week, they want to keep them out of the end zone. So look for them to drop in coverage and keep them in front.
Rogers on the move. He gets to the 30. It'll be 4th down.
The Rams on that play only brought 4 defensive linemen as their pressure. They dropped 7 into coverage. They didn't give Aaron Rodgers the ability to find anybody. You see the linebackers, they're going to drop into coverage. They're only rushing the 4. They dropped 7 into coverage. Aaron doesn't have anywhere to go with the ball. He scrambles around. I'd really like to see him throw the ball away here. McCarthy was talking about Aaron taking unnecessary shots in the running game.
48-yard field goal attempt from Mason Crosby. The kick is up there. It's out there, and it is good. Rams trying to end a 12-game losing streak. Return man Danny Amendola, who almost busted one the first time, picked up this week, drafted by the Cowboys out of Texas Tech with the idea he could be a Wes Welker kind of guy. He was on the Eagles practice squad, and the Rams have added him for a spark. He gave him one before on the Mason Crosby kickoff, and it looks like he'll have another chance from his 1-yard line. Short of the 20-yard line, where the Ram offense will take over. Mike McCarthy in his 4th year. In his 2nd year, he took the Pack to the championship game, but he talked about how this was maybe a better week of practice, and that's on him. He said they didn't practice last week. He had to fire the guys up, and he did.
He thought they played with a lot more emotion. He was excited that the conversations on the sideline, the attitude, the focus during practice. Said there was even a couple of scuffles during the week that not necessarily do you want to see that as a head coach, but based on what's happened the first 2 games, he was excited to see that type of intensity out on the practice field.
Aaron Campman said guys were watching film on the plane ride over. The practice was more physical. They were talking football instead about Xbox Live or those other things that cause you to drift. So the Packer defense in the right frame of mind facing Steven Jackson and Mark Bulger on 1st and 10. Avery in motion. Jackson again. Room for Steven Jackson. He's got a hole on the outside. Penalty flag down as he gets up near the 39-yard line.
Great vision by Steven Jackson.
Holding, 73. Offense, 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
That's going to be an Adam Goldberg, who is replacing Jason Smith at right tackle.
But a great job by Steven Jackson. You'll see him cut here, and then he goes back against the grain. His vision is very good there. His patience in allowing the lineman to block, but you can see Goldberg grabbing the jersey and pulling him. They're going to get that every time. Anytime the official sees the jersey extend like that, that call is going to be made.
Brutal penalty, and that was the talk last week. They had some big runs by Steven Jackson called back in a tight loss to the Redskins. They want to get the ball in his hands as much as they can, and that's what they've been doing so far. But now it's 1st and 20. Right to Steven Jackson, direct snap, and he goes nowhere. 6 touches for Steven Jackson so far. He lines up as a receiver on the right side. Bulger throws that way. A short gain. It'll bring up a 3rd down. Charles Woodson right there with Jackson.
It looks like the Packers may be adjusting when the Rams go to a wide set like that. When they get Steven out in the formation, they drop to a cover 2, left everything in front. There was really nowhere for Bulger to throw down the field. He took the underneath route, but they still stuck in a long 3rd down situation.
And a tough spot for Mark Bulger from his own 15. Early opportunity for this Packer defense. Bulger, the ball's in the air, and is that intercepted at the 15-yard line. And yes, the official says it was held on to by Johnny Jolly. That would be the 7th interception for this Packer defense so far this year.
And the Packers decide on 3rd and 15 to only rush 3 defenders and drop 8 into coverage. And you can see there, I'm not sure if they'll call that an interception or a fumble, but either way, Aaron Campman was able to put pressure on Mark Bulger, which caused that ball to fly out of there.
Johnny Jolly blocked the Ram field goal attempt.
Quarterback fumbled the ball. Quarterback fumbled the ball.
So a clarification fumble, not an interception. Either way, the Rams turn it over, and Bulger's in pain.
You know, he's dealing with the broken finger that he had during the preseason, and when all of a sudden you're going to throw the ball, this week was the first time he took tape off that finger and wasn't going to deal with it. But as you can see, with the way that ball flew out of there, he may have gotten hit right on that finger again.
Kyle Bowler is the Ram backup quarterback. 1st down for Rodgers. And Bowler is warming up for the Rams. Fakes to Grant. Plenty of time for Aaron Rodgers, who throws and completes out of bounds to Jordy Nelson.
Good job by Aaron buying time.
Penalty flag is down there, Trent.
They're going to get the Rams with secondary holding, not letting the receiver get out of there.
Holding, 58, defense, 5 yards from the previous spot, automatic 1st down.
Another Ram defensive penalty. That's on David Vabora, the linebacker.
And just like we talked about earlier, Aaron Rodgers does such a good job with his feet, buying time, moving around in the pocket. I think a week ago you probably would have seen Aaron take off on that one because there was some room for him to run, but he's trying to make the decision. He told us he's looking downfield and he doesn't want to take those extra shots.
So a fresh set of downs for Rodgers. This time he does give it to Ryan Grant, who picks up a couple of yards inside the 10. James Hall making the stop. So 3 penalties on the Rams so far, and that's hurt. You throw in the turnover. Rodgers hoping to get touchdowns instead of field goals.
You hate to continually see the Rams defense in this position. They were in this position a week ago, and they're in this position the first 2 series again today. But if they can hold the Packers to only a field goal, that would be a win for them.
Second down. Goal to go. For the end zone. And no. Off the fingertips. A little too much on that for Donald Driver.
And it was interesting to see that the Rams decided when the Packers went to an empty backfield that they didn't bring pressure. They only dropped 4. You can see Driver come up here. He goes to the corner, loses the defender, and Rodgers just puts it a little bit too far. He's going to be kicking himself if they don't get the score on this down right here. But it looks like if they go to a spread offense, if they get an empty backfield, a lot of times with Steve Spagnuolo, they'll bring pressure. But on that one, they only rush 4 and drop 7 into coverage.
Third and goal from the 8. Driver and James Jones on the left. Jennings on the right. Deshaun Wynn in the backfield. Rodgers is on the run, and they bring him down at the 20. Leonard Little with another sack.
That's been a problem for the Packers, is giving up the sacks. Once again, there's nowhere for Aaron Rodgers to throw. You can see the coverage by Bartell is very good. He doesn't give Jennings any room. On the other side of the field, they have a bracket coverage on Driver in the middle of the field with the safety in the corner. They're playing an inside-out coverage. Nowhere for Aaron Rodgers to go with that ball.
Mason Crosby to try a 38-yard field goal. And the kick is through, and he is 2 for 2. Aaron Rodgers battered around like a Bernie Madoff pinata. He's been sacked 12 times this year already.
He has been, and by the Rams defense today, those sacks, the 2 sacks that Leonard Little has have been coverage sacks. There's been nowhere for Aaron to throw the ball. On the last one, you'd have liked to seen him throw that ball away, but considering where they were on the field, whether he took the sack or not, they were going to be in field goal range, so trying to buy some time to get in the end zone.
Amendola gets up across the 20 to the 23-yard line. And there is another penalty flag. Penalties that hurt the Packers last week have hurt the Rams today.
During the return, holding 57 of the return team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's going to be 2 series in a row now where they've had penalties. Last series, Goldberg with the hold that brought back the Steven Jackson run. And now with this hold on the return, puts them back near their 10-yard line for the second time.
Penalty was on Chamberlain. Bolger 4 out of 5 so far in the game. The fumble. And Steven Jackson 5 rushes for just 13 yards. He had a big run called back on a penalty. And he also has a catch. Bolger remains in the game. The give is to Jackson. Fighting hard for 3 or 4 yards. Ball comes out at the end of the play. All over it is Al Harris. Don't know if he was whistled down or not. He was not, and Packer fans roar.
And it'll be interesting to see if Steve Spagnuolo throws the flag on this. Whether or not Steven Jackson's knee is down, they may argue that his forward progress had stopped before the ball came out. You can see clearly the ball is out before his knee hits the ground, but there could be an argument that his forward progress had stopped.
It did appear that he was pushed back. It was tough to tell where the knee was when the ball came out, and we're waiting to see if there will be a challenge. Al Harris, who got fined $5,000 this week for that hit on Carson Palmer, and no challenge. So the Packers take over on another fumble recovery. Ryan Grant in the backfield for Rodgers. Grant gets it, has a couple to the 10-yard line.
And once again, this Ram defense is going to be tested. They've had game last week. They had 3 stops to hold the Redskins to field goals. So far today, they've had 2 stops to hold the Packers to field goals. And once again, with the fumble by the Rams offense by Steven Jackson, it puts this defense in a tough predicament. Great job on first down, stopping them. See if they can keep him out of the end zone.
Laurinaitis came in as the Rams' leading tackler with 24, 17 solo. It'll be a second down for the Packers. penalty. Pass complete, but the play was ruled dead before the snap of the ball.
Full start, 71. Offense, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Josh Sitton called for the penalty. Spagnuolo didn't challenge because you can't review. That's not reviewable on forward progress. It would be reviewable whether the knee touched and the ball came out, but obviously the Rams, if the people upstairs saw what we saw, they said it's not worth risking.
Well, and Steve Spagnuolo ran down to the line judge, and you could see he had his hand on the flag and was asking the official if it was something that he could challenge.
Packers came in with 17 penalties called in 2 games. That's their first call against them in this game. Second down, Rodgers. Looking for the end zone and incomplete. Intended for his tight end, Donald Lee.
And he tried squeezing that in there to Lee when there was double coverage. They had the safeties drop back to give him a 2-deep look. Looked to be a 2-man defense where you have the underneath coverage is all in man-to-man with help over the top by the safeties. Good coverage there by Dahl, knocking that down or getting in the way of that throw. Another
pivotal third down. This Ram defense has dug in. And if they can hold Green Bay to another field goal attempt, it would be another Ram defensive victory. Driver and Jennings on the left, James Jones on the right. Rodgers throws high, a nice grab by Lee inside the 10-yard line. He had to reach up with one hand. Showed some athletic ability there, but it'll be short of a first down.
And you can't talk about how valuable of a stop this was for the Rams defense. They've been doing it all day long throughout this entire quarter. Their offense has put them in bad positions, and the Ram defense keeps coming up and stopping them and holding them to field goals. So it may be demoralizing for the Packers knowing that they haven't been able to get in and get a touchdown, but this is a win for the Rams defense, the 3rd time this game.
Matt Flynn, the holder for Mason Crosby, trying to go 3 for 3 from just over the 25-yard line, and that's good. Rough start for the Ram offense, and Mark Bulger, his hand, his shoulder, and his teammates wondering if he'll be able to go the rest of the day. Medical staff checking him out. Kyle Boller appears to be the Ram quarterback from here on in. Already safety James Butler questionable with a left knee injury as we start the second quarter. Crosby, who has 3 field goals, kicking off to Danny Amendola. And the Packers special teams bottles him up at the 23-yard line.
In what appeared to be an injury to Mark Bulger's right pinky finger, which is what he broke in the preseason, it looks here that when Kampman drives him to the ground, he lands on his right shoulder or his right elbow that caused an injury there that he tried going with. He went in the last series. They had the one play that Steven Jackson fumbled, but it doesn't appear that Mark Bulger is going to be able to, that Mark Bulger is going to be able to finish out the day. You can see him hanging his arm there as he comes off the field. But Kyle Boller is a veteran, and he's going to step right in.
53 games played, 42 started in his 7th year out of Cal, and he gives to Jackson, who fumbled his last time. Steven turns it toward the corner near a first down. Kyle Boller signed as an unrestricted free agent by the Rams in Baltimore. Put up some pretty good numbers before being on injured reserve, and we saw him before the game talking with Aaron Rodgers, also from Cal.
Yeah, the 2 Cal guys were talking about their California ties, so it was good to see them talking and catching up a little bit. Kyle, I know, is a vet. He's going to be prepared. He's going to be ready to roll. He had some up and down years in Baltimore and missed last year with a shoulder injury, but it's a good opportunity for him here today.
On first down, Jackson carries. So the official word on Mark Bulger, a bruised right shoulder and a questionable return. Rams have turned it over twice. Their defense has held Green Bay to field goals. On one other drive, Aaron Rodgers marched him into range, and that's the 9-0 score here in the second quarter.
The other dimension that Kyle Boller can bring to this offense is he's a little bit more mobile than Mark Bulger, and if there are issues with the offensive line and protection, Kyle's a guy that can run around and make things happen.
From the 35. First pass attempt for Boller. Throws way high for LaRon Robinson, and a penalty flag flies in the air as well.
Holding, 50, defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
A.J. Hawk holding on to Steven Jackson, so that'll give the Rams and Kyle Boller a first down.
You can see A.J. Hawk right here. Steven Jackson's going to come through on this pass route. Kyle is looking over to his left. A.J. comes up and just grabs him and twists him around, and there's really no need for that. You can come up and bump him, but as soon as you grab him and twist him, they're going to call that.
So a first down from the 40. Donnie Avery in motion to the right, and Steven Jackson runs that way, but there's nowhere to go. Charles Woodson up from the corner spot. Jackson making the stop. 5 Pro Bowls for Woodson. Had 2 picks last week. And Steven Jackson getting the ball quite a bit, but the Rams not a lot to show for it.
On that last run, it looks like he got excited about trying to bounce, because the run that he had success with at the start of this series, he bounced around. I would like to have seen him cut inside of Goldberg's block there on Campman and try and pound it in there for a couple yards, but sometimes the back can get caught up in trying to bounce.
Second down and 12. Boller throws high on the run. Again intended for LaRon Robinson. Is that a sign of nerves when a guy comes out and he's firing high like a pitcher out of the bullpen?
Well, it could be a little bit of nerves, and it can also be a little bit of stiffness. You know, he hasn't, he went through the pregame warm-ups, but you run back into the tunnel, you're in the locker room, you get this, you get cold, you're on the sidelines. It's just a matter of getting loose and getting prepared, and you can see Kyle is going to be frustrated by those last 2 throws that he's had.
You see the Vikings leading 7-0 scores up in the right-hand corner. We'll come back to those in a moment on 3rd and 12. Extra pressure. Boller's going to have to get rid of it, and it's almost intercepted. Cutting right in front of Jackson is Clay Matthews, the rookie from USC.
And that's one of those Dom Capers zone blitz types of defense where he brings pressure, but he twists his linebackers to go to different gaps. You can see Campman here. He's going to twist inside. That causes confusion for the quarterback. Not sure where the coverage is. You try and buy time, make something happen, and right there is a good defensive play.
Donnie Jones, first punt of the game, averaging 50 a kick last year, equaling one of the great accomplishments of the NFL. And back for the Packers, Will Blackman. He's going to let it go, and that goes into the end zone. Rams trying to figure things out here, trailing in their home opener to the Packers 9-0. In 9+ quarters this year, the Rams have produced just 7 points. Meanwhile, the Packers try to go to 2-1. First down from the 20. Ryan Grant has been the workhorse for Rodgers. Grant picks up 4, bringing up second down.
And the Rams do a good job defensively of disguising what they were going to do until the last second. They waited. O.J. Atogwe stayed up in the linebacker box to present 8 guys in the box, waited for the Packers to make their check. You could see Aaron Rodgers turn around and make the call to the backs, and then O.J. ran out of there to go into a cover 2 secondary look and got them in a defense that they wanted to be in.
Yards tough to come by. Second down 6. Rodgers deep for Driver, and a one-handed grab by Donald Driver. A penalty flag comes in on the end. Now, he held on inside the 30, but it looked like he leaned in or pushed off on the defensive back, who was Bradley Fletcher.
And rookie Bradley Fletcher here is one-on-one with Donald Driver. You can see him grabbing. You can see the left arm of Fletcher.
32 defense. A penalty decline. Play results in a first down.
The left hand of Fletcher's is hooking the right arm of Driver's, and Driver somehow comes up with a miraculous one-handed catch. But that was something Aaron Rodgers told us coming into this game. They need to take more shots downfield to their big play receivers.
And the veteran takes the rookie to school for a 46-yard gain on a tough call, but he caught the ball anyway. 1st and 10 Packers. Biggest play of the game so far. Quick pass complete. Jordy Nelson has it inside the 20. The Eagles leading Kansas City. We'll also give you some stats in the upper right-hand corner along the scores of all the other games going on right now. The Packers on a nice drive with a 9-0 lead. Grant splits out as a receiver on the left. And Aaron Rodgers is going to take off and run out of bounds around the 7-6-yard line of the Rams. Mike McCarthy said there are 5 or 6 plays in a game he thinks a quarterback needs to make a play with his feet that can determine the outcome in a positive way for your team.
And he said he didn't have a problem with the amount of times that Aaron Rodgers was running around. Of course, he doesn't want Aaron to take the shots like he took last week, but a good job by Aaron on that one to move around in the pocket. The defense was in man-to-man coverage, so once Aaron got outside the pocket and no one was assigned to him, he saw the defender chasing the receiver, was able to run and get the first down.
So it's a 1st and goal. Ryan Grant hit hard, knocked out at the 1-yard line.
Good vision by Grant on that one. The play is supposed to be running to the outside left as he feels the offensive lineman blocking down to the left. They're all going this way. They're blocking down this way. Good job by Grant to see the vision and cut it back and get down to the 1.
8 carries for Grant so far in the game. It'll be 2nd down and goal. Packers trying to get their first touchdown of the day. They've been down here a few times before. The handoff is to John Kuhn, and that is a touchdown, Packers. The fullback in front of Ryan Grant takes it in.
And I think you can see the Rams defense all chasing Ryan Grant out of the way, and the fullback sneaks it in there almost untouched, that everybody caught everyone by surprise.
Kuhn, the ex-Steeler out of Shippensburg, gets a touchdown, and with the extra point from Crosby, who's been busy, it'll be 16-0 Packers. Steven Jackson, 4th leading rusher in Ram history behind Eric Dickerson, Marshall Faulk, and Lawrence McCutcheon. Today, 9 rushes, 1 catch, and 1 pass thrown his way. He does have a turnover, and the frustration mounting with Mark Bulger out with a bruised right shoulder.
There's got to be frustration on the Rams offensive part, and they've got to get things going on this drive right here. They've only scored 7 points through the first 2 games, and today they've made a lot of mistakes, and they've got to get on track.
Danny Amendola has been busy off the Crosby kick after his initial 42-yard return. He's been bottled up. Their first drive was their best, most productive.
And you have to remember, Danny Amendola was the one that set that up with the 40-yard return on the kickoff, but since then they haven't been able to do anything.
Kyle Bowler gives to Steven Jackson on 1st down, and there's just nowhere to go. Charles Woodson leading the charge along with Nick Barnett. And B.J. Raji, number 1 pick, with Sari Raji out of Boston College, the 9th player taken in the opening round, active and in his first NFL game.
And the Rams have to look to generate something. They've been stretching the ball sideline to sideline, and Steven Jackson continues to get stretched out there. It'll be exciting to see if they start pounding in the middle, what Raji can do to stuff the middle.
He had an ankle problem, tweaked it, but practiced well, according to defensive coordinator Dom Capers. Jackson is a receiver on the left. Pressure up the middle. Bowler has to get rid of it. It's low and incomplete. Could have been caught by LaRon Robinson.
And there was an adjustment there by Dom Capers in the Packers defense. When Steven Jackson motioned out of the backfield, he goes out to the right. They bump coverage out. They bump coverage out so that the cornerback is actually positioned on him, and they take their middle linebackers and they do a cross blitz or a cross stunt right through the A gap and put pressure on Bowler.
Former head coach Dom Capers, who of course began his pro coaching career in New Orleans under Jim Moore and the Saints.
Well screen.
So it's 3rd down. Bowler. Penalty flag flies, and nice grab this time. It wasn't over the head of LaRon Robinson, who holds on, but let's check on the flag. Al Harris is back there squabbling with Robinson.
And anytime you get a flag in that part of the field, it generally is defensive holding or defensive illegal chuck past the 5 yards. But someone better get over there and get LaRon Robinson away from that sideline. He's going to get a flag on himself.
Keenan Burton made sure, 2nd-year player from Kentucky. Young receivers on this Ram team.
And LaRon Robinson coming over from Atlanta, he's really been the go-to guy for Bulger.
Personal foul, face mask, 21, defense. That 15-yard penalty will be added on to the end of the play. 1st down.
Now 21 is Charles Woodson, 31 Al Harris was covering. Either way, it benefits the Rams, who get a 1st down.
And you can understand why he got a little fired up there as he's laying on the ground. It looked like Harris was giving him a little business, but right there you can see Woodson in the slot on Keenan Burton. He grabbed his face mask as he was coming off the line of scrimmage.
So a big gainer for the Rams, their best scoring chance other than the blocked field goal with a 13-yard gain and then a 15-yard penalty tacked on. Steven Jackson taking the snap directly. The Ram version of the Wildcat. And picks up a good gain down to the 43-yard line. You a fan of the Wildcat?
You know, I like the ball in the quarterback's hands.
Of course you would, as a former quarterback.
As a quarterback, you've got so many more dimensions you can do. If you have a running back that has the ability to throw the ball, or you have a wide receiver that's back there that has the ability to throw the ball to keep everybody off balance, then it creates more of a problem. But the direct snap to the back is kind of taking the league by storm here because everybody's trying to do it.
Keith Null is the backup to Kyle Bowler, and then they're going to call Trent Green down from the booth if the Rams have further problems. Second down with Jackson in motion. Moves into the slot. Quick pass to Jackson by Bowler. And Steven is working for a first down and gets it.
This is a good job by the Rams offense getting in sort of a rhythm. They did take the advantage of having the face mask penalty that helped them, but they've been able to get into a rhythm offense that we haven't seen at any point in time today.
So Kyle Bowler having to take command. A 12-yard gain on that play from the 35-yard line.
And there's offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur, who's been under heat because the first two games they've only scored 7 points. They haven't had much production today, but he's doing a good job mixing it up on this series.
Jackson carries. Pat Shurmur, the nephew of Fritz Shurmur, former defensive specialist. Ram fans, Packer fans know him well. As Fritz Shurmur put some pretty tough defenses out there for offensive teams. Pat Shurmur, the Eagles quarterback coach, a West Coast style approach. Some say, well, you're going to use Steven Jackson like they used Westbrook in Philadelphia. Not necessarily the case. On second down, Kenneth Darby is in the game, who splits out to the right side at the running back spot. Fake handoff, quick throw, that's complete to Donnie Avery. It's at the 30.
And I think that's a good job by Shurmur. Get the ball out of Bowler's hands. It seems that the quarterbacks, whether it's Mark Bulger or Kyle Bowler, getting the ball out of their hands. There's been pressure on the quarterback. Make those quick throws. Here's the slot receiver right here. He takes 2 steps and comes back. They throw a quick pass to him. You can see the tight end Daniel Fells coming out there to try and block for him. Puts them in a makeable down and distance on third down. They're already in field goal range for Josh Brown. Let's see what they can develop here on third down.
Kenneth Darby, the running back, lines up as a receiver on the right. Third and short for Darby, who catches it and hangs on and has a first down around the 20-yard line. That's a tough catch.
That was a great catch by Kenneth Darby. Here he is going against Charles Woodson one-on-one, and you can tell when Woodson drives on the ball, he thinks he's got a pick six, but Darby does a good job of crossing his face, coming back to the football, and not only keeping balance, but converting and turning upfield to get the first down.
Darby, an ex-Buccaneer, free agent out of Alabama. Also one of the better blockers in that backfield for the Rams. Bowler started 0 for 3. He's been 4 of his last 4. And they have a 1st and 10 as Steven Jackson lines up behind Kyle Bowler. Jackson gets it, bounces outside. Look at Bowler out in front, leading the block. Or trying to.
Somebody better tell Bowler that they're already down to their second quarterback. And if Null goes in the game, they don't have any other quarterback. So, but a good job by him getting involved. You can see Steven Jackson runs in and he bounces it outside. He's had success doing that several times today. And sometimes you can get trapped as a running back. But on this play here, he sees the vision. He has the speed to get outside. And as a quarterback, you want to be competitive. Myself, I ran up there a few times. I don't know if I would get into that big of a pile when you see that many guys. But, you know, you like the competitiveness out of Kyle Bowler.
Could inspire a team. Let's see. Second down. Bowler does have time for the end zone. That's Daniel Fells. Touchdown Rams.
Great job by Kyle Bowler recognizing that the Packers were in man coverage, and it was a matchup that they liked. One-on-one with Daniel Fells on a linebacker. Daniel's a good route runner. He has some speed. You can see he got a real good release off the line of scrimmage, was able to get behind the defender, and Kyle put that ball right on the money.
And Daniel Fells beat former Ram Brandon Schiller of the Packers. A 16-yard touchdown toss from Kyle Boller. And with the extra point, Josh Brown can make it a 16-7 game. Kyle Boller leading the Rams to the touchdown, and for Daniel Fells, his first NFL touchdown on the receiving end. Boller 5 of 6 in that last drive. Impressive after being called off the bench because of a bruised right shoulder, knocking out Mark Bulger. So Josh Brown kicking off. Will Blackmon back to return. Last time the Packers had a kickoff return run back for a touchdown, November of 2000, Allen Rossum. In his end zone, Blackmon's going to bring it out. Penalty flag in the air, and Blackmon crosses the 20-yard line. Let's check on the call.
Holding, 59, return team, 10-yard penalty, first down.
A-Rod. Grant in the slot. Rodgers to throw and completes. Knocked down across the 25-yard line. Donald Driver, who's been the go-to guy with the catch. Greg Jennings last week was shut out for the first time in his career. And he's a guy that Rodgers said, I feel comfortable throwing to. He's my go-to guy.
He feels that way, and he talked about getting Greg involved and getting him involved in the passing game, making some attempts. Last week they threw to him 5 times, and he didn't come away with any catches. So look for Aaron to take a shot here to Greg Jennings.
Jennings lines up on the right for A-Rod. Grant in the backfield. That was a 15-yard pickup. Crowd wants something out of this Ram defense. Nice cutback to just save himself from losing yardage by Grant. Ryan Grant's been busy. His 3rd year out of Notre Dame. As Laurinaitis helps to keep him in check.
And this is the first time today that the Packers have had to respond to any sort of offense by the Rams offense. And the Rams went down, got the touchdown. Now it's up to the Packers to come back and answer. They've been very comfortable with how they've been able to move the ball, the field position they've gotten. But how are they going to respond now that the Rams have put together a touchdown drive? 9
carries for Grant, 22 yards. 2nd and 9. Grant carries again. Stopped short of the 30. You know, Steve Spagnuolo, one of the reasons Billy Devaney said they hired him as a head coach because he came from that tough NFC East where he was the defensive coordinator, and they wanted a guy that was edgy, with an attitude.
And on the replay, you can see the gang tackle that the Rams defense is bringing. Look how many guys are around the ball. You can see when the ball's on the ground, how many Rams defenders are around the ball. Here, Grant sees the vision and sees the hole, but it quickly closes, and the Rams defenders rally.
Trailing 16-7, the Ram defense looking at a big 3rd down. Threatening heat. Rodgers' pass is complete, right on target to Jennings. Down to the 20-yard line. Greg Jennings beat Ron Bartel.
And the Rams this offseason signed Ron Bartel to a long-term contract. One-on-one, Jennings does a great job of getting by. You can see Bartel grab his jersey and try and pull him back. Rodgers puts that ball right on the money. They said they wanted to get Jennings involved. There it was there. They had a shot up the field. Nice throw, nice catch, and converted, getting Jennings involved in the game plan.
And we've hit the 2-minute warning. Packer fans here in St. Louis. And Green Bay on the move from the 21. 1st and 10. Rodgers rolls out, end zone, touchdown, Donald Driver.
Great play fake by Rodgers. You're going to see Driver one-on-one, and as Rodgers is rolling off the bootleg, you can see Driver rolls in and he comes back out, does a double move on Wade. With that amount of time, you're going to give the receiver an opportunity to get open, and Wade really didn't have much of a chance there. But a great route by Driver. Great job by Rodgers to get out of the pocket and buy some time and set up and make an accurate throw. Big touchdown for the Pack right there. And now the Rams are going to have to answer before the half.
The extra point by Crosby is good. And Aaron Rodgers, of course, Donald Driver benefiting from the throws. Rodgers 8 of 10, 167 yards. He told us he thought his fundamentals, footwork improved. He also worked on ball handling and faking, and that came into play on that last touchdown.
And that's really what he said he focused on this offseason, trying to get better at, to improve. Yes, he had the numbers last year, but he wanted to improve on the fundamentals, and that came through on that series.
Crosby's kickoff to Danny Amendola one more time. And knocked out at the 16-17-yard line. A hard hit right there. Matt Giordano, who was just picked up, making the play. You know, Rodgers didn't throw anybody under the bus. The drop passes, the offensive penalties, last week's disappointing upset loss when the Bengals won at Lambeau, and he is one of the guys. This is his team, and he made it a point to talk about how he was there during the offseason program, and during the 2-minute drill they practiced, bonding with his team. Now, Kyle Boller on 1st and 10. Steven Jackson tripped up near the line of scrimmage, and Cullen Jenkins made the stop.
And it looked at, or it appeared that the Rams had a big hole for Steven Jackson to run through, but Cullen Jenkins, he was able to get in there and grab his foot and trip him up at the line, and looks like we have a Rams player down on the field.
And LaRon Robinson is in pain. Third-year wide receiver who we mentioned was acquired from Atlanta and has become their best receiver. Let's take a look with Al Harris. Those two going at each other.
You can see where his knee or his lower leg gets bent underneath. And that's never a good sign. And
LaRon Robinson being helped to the locker room. 2nd down, inside fake. Ball was batted a bit. Pass is caught. That is Keenan Burton, 2nd-year player from Kentucky, who has a Ram. 1st down, an awkward-looking play, but it got the results.
Well, and that's the thing. We talked about Kyle Boller having the mobility to move around and making an accurate throw on the run. He took a shot after the play, but Kyle's a tough guy. He gets rid of the ball. He sees Campman coming down on him. He's able to find the receiver and takes a shot there. That's not the type of hit you want to take on your throwing shoulder, especially when you're coming off a surgery a year ago to that throwing shoulder.
1st down toss, Burton again. Spinning, gets across the 45-yard line. The clock running. The Rams have 2 timeouts. The Rams released Derek Stanley this week, who had been a return specialist and helped out in the receiving area, and that's when they added Danny Amendola. But Keenan Burton picking up for the LaRon Robinson injury. Boller is going to take off and run. He has another 1st down, depending upon where they mark it.
And the Rams going in this 2-minute offense, you generally think you go to 3 or 4 wide receivers in a 2-minute offense. The Rams have stayed with 2 tight ends. They've got Daniel Fells and Randy McMichael in the game, along with Burton and Avery.
Fells a touchdown catch. Delay handoff to Steven Jackson, who's got room down to the 33-yard line on Green Bay. .38 seconds, clock running here. After the 12-yard pickup, nearing field goal range for Josh Brown. Boller's pass is incomplete, in and out of the hands of Daniel Fells. It stops the clock with 24 to go.
And it appears the Green Bay defense seems content with dropping into coverage. They did bring pressure with their linebackers, with their inside linebackers, but from a secondary standpoint, they're looking to keep everybody in front of them and rally and make the tackle.
Robinson unable to walk, so they assist him to the locker room. 3 key injured Rams so far in this game. Trailing 23-7. Pressure incomplete. Donnie Avery had his hands on it.
The Rams are lucky on that one. Generally, anytime a ball is tipped over the middle, it's not a good thing because there's so many bodies in there it could be intercepted. But Kyle Boller was very fortunate there that ball got tipped and ended up hitting the ground, and they have another opportunity to move the ball forward. On this 3rd and 10, this is going to be vital for them to try and get position. Otherwise, they're going to go for a field goal attempt.
And it would be about a 50-yarder. Again, they do have 2 timeouts, but only 20 seconds remaining in this first half. Blitz. He steps up. Bowler's going to run. Inside the 20. Timeout. Now the clock kept running. They're probably going to add some time back on that 8 seconds. Looked like Al Harris coming from the corner.
Well, they bring pressure off of this side. They bring a linebacker and a corner. So that leaves a hole in the middle. We talked about Kyle Bowler's ability to be mobile and run with the ball. He does a good job of turning it up. He slides in, gets the first down, and they have 2 timeouts to burn to stop the clock and give them an opportunity to run another play before attempting a field goal or to get in the end zone.
And you were quick to point out when Bowler came in for Mark Bulger that he does bring better legs, a little more running ability, something the Packers all week preparing for Mark Bulger as a defense didn't plan on.
And we talked about Dom Capers also in a 3-4 defense, likes to run the zone blitzes. He brought pressure off the outside. He dropped Jenkins, who was playing defensive tackle in the middle of the line. He dropped him into coverage where a lot of times you can get a quick throw or a crossing route that you can catch a quarterback off guard and you end up hitting that defender right in the chest.
So the Rams have the 1 timeout. Do you risk anything other than a throw to the end zone here?
Well, I think there's plenty of time. With 1 timeout, you can throw it short and have another chance after that because you do have that 1 timeout.
Points have been hard to come by for the Rams. For the end zone, Bowler, touchdown Rams! It's Daniel Fells again.
And once again, he's matched up on Chiller one-on-one. That is a matchup that they feel good about. Daniel Fells has the speed and the ability to run by Chiller. Great protection by the Rams offensive line, giving Bowler time. You can see the Packers only rushed 3 defenders. They drop 8 into coverage, but they've got Daniel Fells one-on-one in man-to-man coverage with Chiller. And that's the thing that they're going to exploit. This is the 2nd time it's happened.
The former Ram, maybe they know more about Chiller and his coverage ability in a matchup with Fells, taking advantage. So Bowler with a couple of strikes to Fells, and with the extra point, they have already doubled their point total through the first two games of the year. Just 2 seconds remaining in the half. The drive covered 84 yards in 1:50.
And it brings excitement back into the dome. The Rams are excited. The fans are excited. Kyle Bowler getting an opportunity to play, comes in and throws 2 second-quarter touchdowns to make this a ball game against the Packers. And you can see the momentum and the excitement level that has increased here in the dome leading into halftime.
But depending upon the injury to Mark Bulger, Kyle Bowler has found something here.
And you're right, and the Packers had 5 possessions this half. They scored on all 5 possessions, 3 field goals, 2 touchdowns. So they've got to feel real happy with their improvement that they made on the offensive side of the ball.
Kind of a squib kick. Rams with 14 points today after scoring 7 in their first 2 games. They were shut out against Seattle. They lost a 9-7 struggle with the Redskins. Looked like it bounced off and went out, so McCarthy's going to get 1 play. He calls the plays, of course, for the Packers, and was very clear about the drop passes and the miscues last week. Said, hey, I take that stuff. That's my group. I spend a lot of time with them. I take that very personal.
He did. He talked that the receivers, the quarterbacks, they spend time with drops. That's why he was a little frustrated, but he understands those are all fixable things, and they have fixed them here in the first half.
And Kyle Bowler with a couple of rushes for 23 yards. With Trent Green, Chris Myers, glad you're with us. Week 3 from around the NFL, and Fox enjoying this one as the Rams in a sellout, their home opener. And Green Bay coming off a tough loss at home at 1-1. Rams trying to end that 12-game losing streak, 0-2, but they've already put 14 points up on the board after scoring just 7 in the first 2 games of the season. Josh Brown boots it deep to Will Blackman from his 4. Blackman has some room up to the 30-yard line. Aaron Rodgers leads the offense back out. couple of big pass plays. He connected with Donald Driver, of course, on a touchdown, but also on a 50-yarder.
And they talked about getting up the field. They talked about getting the receivers down the field, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver. They wanted to do that. They've attacked all the different corners that the Rams have presented. They had a deep ball on Ron Bartell. They had a deep ball on rookie Bradley Fletcher. And they also had a deep ball on Jonathan Wade, the touchdown in the end zone on the double move by Driver. So they're trying to get the ball at the field, and that's what they had success with in the first half.
And Mike McCarthy has tried to get the ball to Ryan Grant. He said people complain about our run attempts, but we need to get productive on the ground. And Grant carries again. Not a lot of running room. It's been a physical game. Aside from the Bulger and LaRon Robinson injury, starting safety James Butler knocked out with a left knee injury, so Craig Dahl called upon with a Shimago Atagwe in that secondary. Looks like Jennings is in pain, holding his wrist. He does have a big catch in the game. We'll check on that injury as well. Second down. We'll call it 10. Rodgers' pass is tipped and penalty flag goes down. Ball was not caught cleanly. It actually hit the ground. Justin King comes out of there with it, but it looked like it was tipped at the line of scrimmage.
It was tipped at the line of scrimmage, and there won't be that. This penalty will be overturned because of that tip at the line of scrimmage. But you are allowed to have a 5-yard bump zone.
There's no foul for defensive pass interference. The ball was tipped. Third down.
Yeah, as soon as it's tipped, you can go after him, right? You don't have to worry. It's not pass interference.
Right. Garrett Gibson did a good job of getting his hand up there. He realized that Aaron Rodgers was in a short drop, and that once he saw him set and throw, he got his arm up there, got the tip. The defensive player has a 5-yard bump zone, but once the ball's in the air, that 5-yard bump zone is gone, and you can call pass interference within the 5 yards. That's what a lot of people don't understand about the bump rule is if the ball's in the air, it doesn't matter.
Third down. 10. For Driver. Almost intercepted. Greg Dahl playing in his first game of the year that he's active for on the coverage. So another good stand by this Steve Spagnuolo Ram defense.
And I know Aaron Rodgers is going to be frustrated with that. We did a good job of sliding over, buying time. Leonard Little came on an inside pass rush. He slid up in the time, had time in the pocket. He just didn't get enough air under the ball because they did have some separation in the defensive backfield, but Dahl did a good job of recovering and almost making the interception.
First Packer punt, and that was an issue last week as Danny Amendola calls for a fair catch. Welcome back in St. Louis, and Greg Jennings, a right wrist injury, a probable return for the Rams, though. LaRon Robinson, their leading receiver coming in, has an injury and is questionable. So the Rams will have to lean on Keenan Burton at first down. Kyle Bowler came in after the bruised right shoulder. Fells, a reserve tight end behind Randy McMichael. As Jackson carries, Steven gets a first down. Bowler 8 of 13 and 99 yards in those two scores so far.
And the Rams have picked up right where the first half left off. They had momentum going in at halftime. They had the crowd behind them. They start off on defense. They get their first stop of the game. The Packers scored on every possession in the first half. The defense steps up, gets the Packers offense off the field, and now you can see the Ram offense is picking up with that rhythm that they had at the end of the half.
17 rushes for Steven Jackson, 59 yards. First down from just inside their 30. Jackson the pitch and picks up a couple. Brady Popinga making the stop. Jackson, his nickname is the Beast, and they say feed the beast. That's how feed the beast. That's how we can become successful. And if they are moving the chains, he did have a fumble earlier. That's a success ratio with Bowler taking advantage of some opportunities that the Ram offense can gain with.
And people are going to talk about the success the Rams had, the 2 series that they scored on with the passing game, but you've got to continue to feed Steven Jackson because of his ability to run the ball.
And wear down the defense in the second half. Quick pass to Jackson. He's got room to the outside near the 47-yard line of the Rams before A.J. Hawk brought him down.
And a lot of offensive coordinators call that an extended run play. You're going to run Steven Jackson on a swing pass here. As an offensive coordinator, a lot of times you just try and get your running back separated from all the junk that's in the middle with all the linemen, all the defensive players. Get them outside, let them get outside contain, and get one-on-one in the open field. So really that's an extended handoff, and you want Steven Jackson in the open field.
Another first down. Donnie Avery in motion to the right side. Jackson gets the carry and has room. Pounding away to the 45. You know, the Rams got to see in the preseason the Chiefs and the Jets, so they saw some 3-4 defense. It's a little different than what the Packers run, but at least they had some experience this year with it.
They have, and Dom Capers brings a unique style of how he calls it. He says that this team is growing. He feels good about the progress that they've made. They do have a bye week coming up in a couple weeks, and he may implement a few more things into this defense. But so far, the Rams have gotten into a rhythm these last few series at the end of the half, and so far on this drive.
Second down short. Buller is looking to throw. High and incomplete for Fells. That'll bring up a 3rd and short. So far for Jackson, he's got 23 touches. That's more than what he's been averaging, just below 19 so far in the 3 games or 2 prior games this year.
Steven Jackson's a guy that needs the ball. He enjoys ball after ball, getting into a rhythm from an offensive standpoint, whether it's running or pass receiving. But he talked to us the other day. He likes consecutive touches. He thinks that he can wear down a defense, and he gets more comfortable and gets his motor going.
Amendola in motion. Kenneth Darby carries and gets. He was like crawling toward the first down. Just across the 40 of Green Bay.
Kenneth Darby does a good job. He's a change-up runner than what Steven Jackson is. He brings a little bit more of a burst. He's a little bit faster, a little bit quicker type tempo back. But right here he extends for the ball. It'll be interesting to see if the Packers challenge, if he got his knee down, if he extended and was able to get the first down, or the Packers challenge this spot.
Or maybe the Rams, because they marked him down all the way back at the 43. As the knee went down, he'd crawled all the way inside the 41. As the measurement shows, he is short. And if you're the Rams,
you go for it.
And that's what the crowd wants.
And Bowler's running back on the field, so that's what they're going to do.
With Steven Jackson and Billy Bajema, who was the primary blocking tight end behind Randy McMichael and Daniel Fells.
I think this is a good call. The Rams have struggled the first 2 weeks on offense. They've gotten into a little bit of a rhythm at the end of the half. Now they've got a drive going. Send a message to this team and let's get this offensive, this home crowd into the game and get them fired up.
4th and inches. Bowler keeps. His feet were moving.
His feet were moving, but his back may be a little bit sore because Steven Jackson plowed right into the back of him to push that pile forward. So
the crowd tells you
it's a good thing that Kyle wears rib pads to protect that back from Steven driving him for that first down.
So a 1st and 10 from the 42-yard line of Green Bay.
He gets good push. You can see his feet continue to move, but here comes Steven Jackson, wham, right in the back and to push that pile forward.
After a few early penalties, Adam Goldberg replacing Jason Smith at right tackle. The Ram offensive line has settled in nicely with Kyle Bowler. He rolls out, throws on the run, and near the 45-yard line, Burton hauls it in.
Good job by Keenan keeping his feet in bounds. Dancing near the sideline there to make sure he wasn't out of bounds on the reception. And another good throw by Kyle Bowler. And that's what we've seen out of him. And since he's come into the game, they're doing a better job of moving the pocket around for him. Don't just stand back there 7 yards deep and let the defenders take a hit on you. Move around a little bit, get the ball out of your hands. And this fits real well with what Kyle Bowler does.
McMichael stops from the 35. Jackson might lose a yard. And again, Keenan Burton, the 3rd receiver, now moving into the starter's role with that ankle injury to LaRon Robinson. Ruvel Martin is inactive, the ex-Packer, who the Rams have signed, but Danny Amendola, the return specialist, is available.
You're right on a borderline here. This is going to be a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 situation. Josh Brown, he can kick 54, 53 yards, which is what they would have right now. But from a Rams standpoint, you'd like to get the first down, but you know this is right in that range for Josh Brown.
Trailing 23-14 on third down. Bowler on the run, throws incomplete. Packers with excellent defense there. He didn't have a lot of options.
That was the type of pressure that the Packers have to have. They did a good job of getting pressure up the middle, flushing Bowler out of the pocket. He really had nowhere to go with the ball. Good decision by him to put it in a place where either the receiver was going to get it or nobody was going to get it. And now Josh Brown is going to have an attempt of 53 yards, it looks like.
And Johnny Jolly blocked his first field goal attempt. Jolly also with a fumble recovery for the Packers. Josh Brown's career long is 58 yards. This will be 53 to try and get the Rams just a little bit closer. The kick is good. Whatever the Rams have been dialing up since Kyle Bowler has come in for Mark Bulger, it's worked. They are now within 6, trailing the Packers 23-17. They have 18 first downs compared to just 10 for the Packers. Josh Brown has just booted the long field goal, kicks off to Blackman from his own end zone, and Will downs it right there. To be optimistic or excited to be at an NFL game. The sold-out home opener in St. Louis, and the Rams going toe-to-toe with the Packers. Now Minnesota was losing to San Francisco at last check. The Lions were winning. Green Bay is leading here. 1st and 10 from the 20. Rodgers going deep, and Jordy Nelson had his hands on it but couldn't hang on.
Jordy Nelson got behind the defensive secondary. O.J. Atagwe is the safety there, and he's able to get behind Atagwe. Here Bartell's playing in coverage. Actually, Atagwe's on the other side of the field. It's Dahl, the safety, that's got to have that deep middle of the field, and he gets behind him. He should come up with that ball. That hits him right in the arms, and that's a play they're going to want back.
Packers led the league in drops after 2 games. That was a tough one, but catchable. Craig Dahl playing for the injured James Butler. On 2nd and 10, Rodgers fires, and that one could have been caught by James Jones.
We were talking up to this point, the Packers had problems with drop passes the first 2 games. They didn't have those issues in the first half.
Crowd buzzing here in St. Louis for a defense that has seen Aaron Rodgers go 0 for 4 here in the 3rd quarter. Some of that the drops. But early in the game, in the first 3 drives, the Ram defense tightened and forced field goals. Now it's 3rd and 10. The blitz was on, and Rodgers had to get rid of it.
The Packers went with an empty backfield, and what the Rams decided on that one with the empty backfield. Sometimes with the empty backfield, they've dropped into zone coverage on 3rd and 10. Instead of dropping into coverage, as soon as they saw that empty backfield, James Laurinaitis right in the middle, went right through the A-gap, untouched, and right after Rodgers, he had to throw the ball away.
So Jerry Capados, who had a 50-plus yarder the last time, boots it to Danny Amendola, who's got some room across the 40. A nifty return where the Rams have the football, trailing by 6. Kyle Bowler, injured all of last year, signed by the Rams and now playing for the injured Mark Bulger. At 1st and 10. Steven Jackson to the outside. Steven Jackson all the way inside the 41-yard line of Green Bay.
Steven Jackson does a great job as the game continues. He just gets stronger and stronger. As other people get tired, Steven just keeps his strength. He keeps his stamina. He's in great condition. He has the ability to bounce outside. He has the ability to power it inside. And you can see there the speed to get around the corner.
First downs, and you can follow the stats up in the corner. The Rams, a decided advantage there. After a 20-yard pickup from Steven Jackson, who says he gets stronger as the game gets later. Bowler, quick pass, in and out of the hands of Avery, incomplete. By the time I was going to finish the word complete, he had already let go of the football, but good pressure from Al Harris.
Great job by Al Harris to knock that ball out of there. Donnie Avery had the ball in his stomach. It looked like he was going to make a move. Al Harris came up from behind, made the contact, and stripped the ball out of there. before it could be a completion.
Star receiver for the Rams last year, second-round draft pick. In fact, the first receiver taken in 2008 out of Houston, Donnie Avery. But now a 2nd and 10 from the 40. Jackson looking for room and is brought down. A good tackle from behind by A.J. Hawk. Time for Bowler, and the pass is nowhere. Tipped at the line of scrimmage. Frustration and a missed opportunity for this Ram offense.
You know, I was a little bit surprised with that play call there. Kyle's been doing such a good job of moving outside the pocket, using some play action, rolling out, moving him around so he's just not standing there in the pocket. And I was a little surprised with that. I thought they'd try and shuffle the pocket around. There was good protection. Don't get me wrong. There was good protection. But just Kyle's ability to make things happen on the move has worked really well for him up to this point.
And it didn't look like there was a lot available downfield. So Donnie Jones out of LSU, Mr. Reliable. The Ram kicking game is never in doubt, always in good hands. Can he drop this one inside? Yes, he can. What a terrific special teams play. Waiting for the boot that bounced was Quincy Butler.
And the Packers offense is looking to get back on track after a successful first half. They don't have many first downs. They've had some big plays, but they've got to get the ball out of their own end zone here.
Ryan Grant, his 12th carry. He only has 26 yards so far as they knock him back down around the goal line. Chris Long making the stop, the former #1 pick who studied defensive ends more so in the offseason on tape and film, getting off the ball quicker, according to opposing scouts.
And they've done a good job of moving him around. With Steve Spagnuolo coming from the Giants, the way they use their defensive linemen in New York, they've bounced those guys around from defensive tackle, defensive end, have them rush from different spots, and they're doing the same thing with Chris Long. On nickel situations, on pass rush, obvious pass rush downs, he's been moving inside the defensive tackle, and they've moved him around quite a bit. Good job on the pressure on that last play.
Grant trying to go outside. Bartell aims high and takes him out right around the first down marker. Grant upset about the way he was tackled. On that play, T.J. Lang went in at left tackle for Darren College on the Packer offensive line.
You can see Bartell coming in high. He has the ability to go low. Instead, he goes for his neck. He's lucky he didn't get a call there because the officials have been really guarding the players in their neck and the head area. So you got to be a little bit careful there, not getting a 15-yard penalty.
All right, Darren College comes back in. That was a big third down, I should say a run for a first down. Packers have a little more breathing room. Rodgers going for Driver and a little long. Bartell back there covering. You get the impression that Rodgers and the Packers think they can work on Ron Bartell, who started all 16 games last year, 20 passes defended, one of the key guys in this Ram defense.
And that's the second time this half that they've gone to that side of the field where Craig Dahl has been the safety on that side of the field. They have a lot of respect. All the players and coaches that we talked to from Green Bay have a lot of respect for O.J. Atagwe. And it seems with Butler out of the game and Dahl in the secondary, that's the side of the field they're attacking.
Two big pass plays have just about equaled the other 32. Second down. Rodgers fakes. He throws. And a low pass, but a nice grab by Jordy Nelson for a big first down up around the 35 of Green Bay.
Jordy Nelson has one-on-one against Jonathan Wade. He does a good job outside release, gets inside. Once again, Dahl is the safety over the top. They seem to be picking to the side of the field wherever Dahl lines up. They've gone after Bartell. They've gone after Wade. They've gone after against Fletcher, the rookie. But it seems to be the side of the field that Dahl's lining up to. They have a lot of respect for O.J. Atagwe, and they want to stay from his interception attempts.
36-yard line after a 24-yard pickup. First down, Packers. They've done it with the throw, and Rodgers goes to Nelson again. Bartell had slipped down when he tried to make the tackle. It's a good first down pickup for Rodgers.
And this is big for Green Bay. They were able to, they had the ball down on their own 2-yard line to get some first downs, get the ball back out. Of course they want to get points, but the fact that they've been able to move the ball near midfield trying to get some rhythm going as an offense. We talked about the fact they didn't have many first downs. It was all about big plays for them in their scoring opportunities. Here they've been able to put some first downs back to back and use up some of that clock.
10-yard pickup. They've deflated the crowd a bit. So a 1st and 10 from their own 46. Grant carries, and penalty flag flies as he gets inside the 45. Spencer Havener was in the game to help block from the tight end position.
Holding, 63, offense, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Scott Wells, the starting center, called for the penalty.
He's matched up against Cliff Ryan right in the middle of the screen here. You can see he gets beat inside. He just pulls him down. Some coaches would say that's a good decision to make instead of blowing the back up in the backfield. See if you get called on it. He obviously was called. He had a hold of his jersey and pulled him right down. With it that clean in the backfield, that generally is going to be picked up.
5 penalties in this game for Green Bay. They came in with 17 from the shotgun on first down. Quick pass to Grant at the 40, wrapped up as he crosses it. Will Witherspoon from that weak side linebacker spot after playing inside for the last few years, bringing Grant down.
Tackle by Witherspoon for St. Louis.
It'll bring up 2nd down. The Ram defense certainly slowed down Green Bay in the first half. Couple of big plays, and now this is a position where you can bring added pressure if you're willing to gamble.
You can. Laurinaitis has been doing a good job mixing things up. Sometimes he shoots the A-gap. Sometimes they've been twisting Chris Long around. They decide to drop into coverage on this one.
Had Rodgers a little confused.
Yes, they did. He had the ability to, he had a completion there. He would have had to put it on the receiver's body because the Rams did drop into coverage. But you can see here with the 2 deep safeties and the underneath coverage, they're only rushing the 4 defenders. So you've got to find those windows and put it right on their body.
So it's a big 3rd down. They have to get all the way to the 44 of the Rams.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams don't drop into coverage here. It's 3rd and 15. Try and keep everything in front of them.
Rodgers has time. Deep down the middle and incomplete for Greg Jennings. No flags.
And once again going after Craig Dahl, the safety that they've kind of been picking to his side of the field. He gets caught coming up shallow on some of his coverages. So they wanted to take a shot over the top to him. But on this one, Dahl does a great job of gaining depth. You can see the double move by Jennings. There's a collision there that doesn't get called. It seems like incidental contact. You're not going to get that call. But Dahl does a good job of preventing the receiver get behind him.
Last 2 punts, 52 and 54 yards. Danny Amendola will field it inside the 9. And he gets out to the 17-yard line where Kyle Bowler and the offense takes over. First down. Jackson. Steven Jackson. That's a lot of work for 9 yards.
And that's what Steven talked to us about on Friday, is his ability to get the ball down after down and grind away at the defense and find holes and seams to where he can power through.
For a guy 6'2" and over 235, he had a late growth spurt in high school, so he kind of was nimble as a smallish guy, and he maintained those same skills as he grew into a bigger guy. 100 yards on the day on 23 carries for Steven Jackson. Let's make that 24 as he gets a first down. Penalty flag in on the end of the play.
Charles Woodson comes flying in from the top with a back that Jackson's size. You better try and go low and get those powerful legs out of the way. Otherwise, you try jumping on his back, he'll just carry you for a while.
Officials discussing this. If it's against the Rams, it'll negate a first down. Huffing and puffing, the workhorse.
There's no foul on the play for a face mask. He had his grabbed at the shoulder.
Clarification. So it is a first down. Thank you, from the 31-yard line. And let's take a look. See if that was.
That looks like he's got a hold of his face mask.
That's, and the crowd felt the same way when they showed it on the video screen here in St. Louis. They get the first down. trailing by 6. Quick pass, bounces toward Keenan Burton. So it'll be 2nd down and 10. You know, the quick passing for Pat Shurmur calling plays almost in Philadelphia, where you had Donovan McNabb in that West Coast style offense, maybe more comfortable doing that with Bowler in there than Mark Bulger, just because of the way he moves around.
You know, Kyle Bowler has done a good job coming in and getting into a rhythm with offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur. It seems like they're on the same page, and this may be something that Kyle's a little bit more comfortable in at this stage because Mark is having to learn a new offense.
Just over 2 minutes to go in the third. Jackson carries and gets a couple. It'll bring up a 3rd down, and the Rams don't want to squander a scoring opportunity as they did the last time when they were in Packer territory. Green Bay was on the move offensively, but a holding penalty knocked them back. So from the 34, as Jackson checks out, it'll be 3rd down for this Ram offense. Kenneth Darby checks in. A busy day for Steven Jackson. And an important down for Kyle Bowler. Throw is incomplete. Trying for McMichael, his tight end, around the 44-yard line.
The tight end matched up on Chiller again. I know the 2 touchdown passes the Fells were against Chiller. Here's McMichael in the slot. He gets down to 1st down depth. This is a play he's got to come up with. Kyle puts it a little low and away because of the coverage. You have to keep it away from the defender, but that's a pass that Randy's got to come up with.
Minnesota going back in front of San Francisco. The Lions are winning. Jets leading in the 4th quarter against Tennessee. Check the scores in the upper corner as Donnie Jones with boots of 62, and then the last one was inside the 5. And here Blackman is down at about the 15-yard line. So the Packer offense with Aaron Rodgers again starting out in a hole. Last time they dug out of it. This time they'll have a little more breathing room.
The last series they got the ball to about midfield, and like you mentioned, Chris, they had the holding penalty that bounced them back. They never recovered from that. They had to punt the ball away. Here they got a little bit more breathing room. Last time they had the ball at the 2-yard line. This time they've got the ball a little bit better field position. But as you can see, 3 punts in a row. This offense needs to get into a rhythm. They had an opportunity early in the game to really put this game out of reach from an early stages. They had to settle for 3 field goals. They let the Rams hang around, and now we've got a ball game. 6 points here with only a minute to go in the 3rd quarter.
And on 1st down, Ryan Grant, a running start out to the 23-24-yard line. Aaron Rodgers for the game, 11 of 21, 207 yards and a touchdown. That being to Donald Driver, but it's been a tough second half for this Green Bay offense. Talk about the minds of Mike McCarthy, the offensive-minded play caller for Green Bay, and then Steve Spagnuolo, former defensive coordinator of the Giants and in the Philadelphia defensive system. As a head coach trying to get his first win of the year. First win of his NFL coaching career. On 2nd down. Grant waits for the cut, gets the 1st down, where he's wrapped up just at the 30-yard line.
I like the change of pace that the Green Bay Packers did there on offense. That situation, they put in 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, and 3 tight ends on 2nd down. Usually that's a 3rd and short type of personnel group, but with 3 tight ends in the game, he had a good vision on the run, and he made the cutback, and we're able to get to the 1st down.
Well, that's the end of the 3rd quarter here in St. Louis. Along with Trent Green, former quarterback, fresh from the field, Chris Myers. Hope you're enjoying Week 3. It's the NFL on Fox, and in St. Louis, the Packers have the lead, and they have the football. Aaron Rodgers saying the team had the best Friday of practice so far this year. They wanted to work on finishing strong. See what they do from their own 30 on 1st down. Rodgers moving, throwing deep for Jennings. He's got it. Greg Jennings beat Ron Bartell to the 15 or 17, we should say, of St. Louis.
Prior to that snap, Steve Spagnuolo was trying to signal to the safety to get over the top because Jennings was one-on-one down here. As you see him go running by, Aaron Rodgers does a good job of sliding over, getting over in the pocket, buying some time, and getting that ball deep to Jennings, who they said they wanted to get more involved and he's had 2 catches today, both of them big plays down the field.
And Steve Spagnuolo, realizing his defense missed an opportunity. Another big passing play from Rodgers. First down with Ryan Grant in the backfield. They're going to give it to him. He is met hard. Maybe he'll lose a yard right there at the line of scrimmage. Jennings catches of 50 and 53 yards. And of course, Donald Driver had a 50-yard catch from Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers talked about getting the ball up the field, spreading the field. Yeah, they haven't had the first downs. They haven't had the long drives. But you get those big plays, you put yourself in position to score.
And they bottled up this Ram defense. Ryan Grant, 16 rushes, only 49 yards. But in field goal range already. Protecting a 6-point lead. Rodgers fakes. He's going to move right. Being chased. And he's going to run for a first down.
Good job by Rodgers, seeing the vision that he has, sliding around in the pocket. The Rams do a great job with their coverage. No one is open for Aaron to throw the ball. By the time he tries getting underneath to Driver on the short route, he's got to slide in the pocket. He's got to try and find places to go. He's able to get outside the pocket, run away from the defensive lineman, and get the first down.
That was one of those plays that Mike McCarthy said, and there'll be 5 or 6 where a quarterback with his legs will have to make a play. A 12-yard pickup, so it's first and goal. Ryan Grant inside the 5. It'll be second and goal.
Several times they've been down inside, especially early in the part of the game, first quarter, where they had to settle for field goals. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do some sort of play action or a rollout pass here. Try and get Rodgers on the move. Try and get some sort of play action, get an isolation one-on-one. They haven't been effective running the ball down in here and close to try and get Rodgers out. They're going to an empty backfield.
Yeah, he's run it 4 times for 27 yards. 30% of their ground game. Receivers all over the place. Rodgers going to keep it himself. Touchdown. That's 5 runs today for Aaron Rodgers. A-Rod delivers, maybe a knockout punch.
You can see Garrett Gibson right here. Takes a step, drops into coverage. This is that Dom Capers zone blitz. You get one-on-one in the open field, and Rodgers makes him miss. Gets in the end zone.
And with the extra point, it'll be a 13-point lead. Crosby is through. An impressive drive against the Rams by Aaron Rodgers. 84 yards, took up almost 4 minutes, and ran it in for the touchdown. The missed extra point, it was a good snap, but just a shank job by Mason Crosby. Earlier he had an extra point that was partially blocked that went through, and here Crosby kicking off with a 12-point lead instead of 13. Danny Amendola to the 27-28-yard line. Mason Crosby 3 for 3 in the field goal department, bothered by a sore abdomen, so that missed extra point has him steamed. But the Packers with a 12-point lead here in the fourth quarter. Packer fans have made the 8-hour drive, enjoying what they've seen. Bowler gives to Steven Jackson, powering forward.
Steven Jackson.
What'd you say earlier? Feed the beast.
But when you're
That's
down,
what they're doing.
When you're down by 12, could you afford to do this and chew up the clock?
And when you're this big of a back, to be able to find it and crease it, be able to sneak your way through there, and then you get to the second level and you explode through and carry those guys for a couple yards. That's what Steven Jackson's all about. But you're right, they do have to. They are coming from behind here.
Second down after a good pickup on first. Bowler looks one way, flips it to the fullback. Might lose a yard. Mike Carney. The Rams have shown quick striking ability. Their 17 points were scored in a span of 11 minutes 20 seconds between the back half of the second quarter and the first portion of the third quarter.
Kyle Bowler did a good job on that route there. He wanted to get Jackson matched up one-on-one with Chiller in the right flat. He came out, he looked that way, came to his second receiver. His third receiver was covered, got all the way back to his fourth receiver. Unfortunately, that fourth receiver lost a couple of yards.
Nick Barnett has been out of the rotation for the Packer defense. The report from the sideline is he's healthy. On third down, pass well covered. A penalty flag comes from the other side of the field. It was intended for Donnie Avery. Tremont Williams, who comes in the nickel situation when they slide over Woodson, was back there covering. And
Illegal formation on the offense. Number 70 was not on the line of scrimmage. That penalty's declined. Fourth down.
so that was on Alex Barrett. You have to have 7 men on the line of scrimmage, and the helmet has to at least be up to the waist of the center or the guy snapping the ball.
And usually before that flag is thrown, at some point in time, they're going to come into the huddle and they're going to say, hey, listen, you need to scoot up. They're going to give you a warning before they call that play. So that is something that that Alex already knew going into that play, that they had warned him about getting up on the line of scrimmage.
Patriots leading the Falcons. Giants on their way to winning again. The Buccaneers are being shut out. And here, trailing by 12, Donnie Jones boots it back to the Packers. Blackman from inside his 10. Penalty flag comes out, and Blackman is still running around. He may gain a yard or two after all that, but we'll check on the penalty.
He did a lot of running around for about 3 or 4 yards, and he probably wishes he had known that flag was thrown, because now it's going to get moved back half the distance to the goal line. And unfortunately for him, he took a few extra shots that he didn't need to take.
61-yard punt, and we'll check on the penalty.
Holding, 24, return team during the return, half the distance to the goal, first down.
Jarrett Bush called for a couple of penalties last week. Called again here. Packers have the football and the lead. There is the call on Jarrett Bush, a reserve defensive back. Welcome back here in St. Louis with Trent Green, Chris Myers, and backed up at their own 6-yard line. Aaron Rodgers gives the ball to Ryan Grant. Tough yards to get out across the 10-yard line.
And this is an important drive for the Green Bay Packers. With just over 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and a 12-point lead, it's going to be important for the Packers to try and use up some of this clock, because the Rams are going to need 2 possessions to try and get back into this.
Big pass plays have been the difference against this Ram defense. McCarthy hoping to eat up some of the clock and have his team dig out of the hole they're in. Second down, about 5. Hand off Grant, big hole. Spinning all the way across the 25-yard line. Like Steven Jackson, the more you give him the ball as a penalty flag flies out, the sooner or later, the bigger chance you have of him breaking one.
And once again, great vision on Grant's part. The run starts going to the right and then cuts back
Illegal
left.
use of hands to the face, 95 defense. 5-yard penalty will be assessed from the end of the play, first down.
Clifton Ryan of the Rams from his defensive tackle spot, guilty of the call. 33-yard line now. First down Packers, clock running. 9:40.
And from a field position standpoint, they were pinned inside their 10 with a couple of nice runs by Ryan Grant, and then the penalty, they've now gotten the ball out past the 30.
Grant this time met right on target at the 30 and brought down in a hurry. David Vobora from his linebacker spot, the last pick in the 2008 draft. He was relevant on that play. So it'll be second down.
And Vobora really jumped into the limelight and to the starting position when right before the season they decided not to bring Chris Draft back. The Rams didn't. Chris Draft didn't want to take a pay cut. David Vobora becomes the starter. He comes up with a big tackle there on first down.
For Idaho, 252nd pick. Deshaun Wynn is in, and he gets the carry and is met hard in the middle. So it'll be a third down. Hollis Thomas from Sumner High School, a St. Louis native, making the stop, coming here as a free agent, coming back home. He's the oldest and heaviest guy on the team, things usually you don't want to talk about, but at age 35 and 340, he uses that weight to clog the middle.
He uses that leverage against the interior part of the offensive line for the Packers. Comes up with a big stop right there, but I know Hollis, having talked to him, he's excited about being back in his hometown of St. Louis.
So the Ram defense and the fans here in St. Louis need a stop. Third down. Rodgers can run for it. Did he get there? There's a certain kind of calm and cool about Aaron Rodgers, no matter what the situation.
I thought the Packers did a good job of sealing the edge. They went to Leonard Little's side, and you know the havoc that Leonard Little has caused us all day. He came with 2 sacks. Leonard comes off the edge. They do a good job of sealing him and letting Aaron get around the outside of that. Aaron tries to find a receiver downtown or down the field. He has to turn it up, try going for those sticks. Good rally by the secondary of the Rams.
So he wound up a little bit short. Looked like he thought he had it the way he went out of bounds. Jeremy Kapanos boots this one. That bounces at the 5, sticks at the 10, goes forward to the 15. LaRon Robinson went out with an injured ankle. And Steven Jackson gets a carry with the clock running.
The Rams lost that momentum that they had going into the halftime. Coming out of the halftime, they got some points. They had the momentum going on offense. It seems like they've all of a sudden these last couple series gotten out of rhythm. They are trying to be consistent and give Steven Jackson the ball. But at this stage of the game and trailing by 2 possessions where you've got to get points on the board, you're going to have to, at some point in time, push the ball up the field.
You saw Desmond Bishop, a big hitter and a big play linebacker. The Packers said they want to get on the field more. He's in the game as the throw is short and low. Donnie Avery, the receiver who catches it, but they only have 3 healthy receivers with Robinson injured, and they have Ruvel Martin inactive, the ex-Packer.
And I'm not sure what that completion does for you. We talked about they're down 2 possessions. They've got the whole length of the field to go. They ran the ball on first down. They threw a 3-yard pass on second down. The clock is running. You mentioned the 3 healthy receivers. They've got to push the field. They've got to stretch the field. They've got to get the ball down the field to make something happen.
All right, Danny Amendola has the speed and Avery to do it, but Daniel Fells has been the go-to guy from the tight end spot. A big third down if the Rams want to stay in this game. Fuller, and it's intercepted. Right there is Charles Woodson, his 3rd pick of the year. And the 7th for this Green Bay defense.
And the Packers decided on that 3rd down. They've dropped into coverage on some 3rd downs, but on that one, they decided to bring pressure. They bring all 6 guys. They come right up the gut. There's somebody clean coming right through the middle. Bowler has to throw the ball. He throws it a little bit behind, gives Woodson an opportunity to undercut Amendola and make that interception.
Charles Woodson, 5 Pro Bowls. Former Heisman Trophy winner out of Michigan. It looks like he's in pain, but he has been one of the top defensive players for Green Bay since arriving with the Packers. So Aaron Rodgers and the Pack, they take over at the 26. 6:12 to go. They give it on an end around to Donald Driver, who has a first down inside the 15 of the Rams. Shimago Atagwa eventually ran him out of bounds.
The Packers do a good job of getting flow going this way. Rodgers with the fake gives it around to Driver. It gets the flow of the defense going one direction and the ball going the other way. They do a good job of sealing it off. You give Driver a one-on-one in the open field, and O.J. Atagwa comes up with the tackle and forcing him out of bounds.
A Driver, a 7th-round draft pick in 1999, has been Mr. Reliable for Green Bay through the years, running at that time. A 13-yard pickup. First down. Ryan Grant picks up a couple down to the 10-yard line before Witherspoon drags him down. Charles Woodson with that interception, and next month he'll turn 33 years old. Still quick on the corner with Al Harris and that Green Bay defense, and now the offense can run the clock, protecting a 12-point lead.
I like what they've done. They've ran the ball. They keep the clock moving to get into the end zone. you may be setting up where Rodgers either gets outside the pocket or tries to throw into the end zone, with the Rams defense all being solid right there in the middle to stop the inside run.
Rodgers has thrown for a touchdown. He's run for a touchdown. Second down from the 10. Rodgers with a little flip to his fullback, John Kuhn, who has another touchdown. Second of the game for John Kuhn. He did kind of a mini Lambeau leap here in St. Louis.
Once again, the Packers are going to set up the Rams defense, making a fake away, getting the fullback out to the flat. Rodgers fakes here, bootlegs away. Nobody covers Kuhn as he's coming out into the flat. It's an easy touchdown for Aaron Rodgers. Just has to touch it over the top of an outstretched Chris Long. Kuhn gets in the end zone for another touchdown for Green Bay, and you can hear the response of all the Packer fans that made the trip down here to St. Louis.
And the Ram fans frustrated. Well, for the Packers, they were disappointed, even somewhat embarrassed. A home loss to Cincinnati last week. There was no panic on the part of Aaron Rodgers or his head coach, just a sense of the mistakes or things that we could correct, and they have for the most part in this game.
The embarrassing part for them were the penalties, the drop passes, the sacks from the offensive line, and for the most part today, they've eliminated those. Yes, they did have a couple drops. Of course, there's been pressure on Aaron Rodgers, but that's what Coach McCarthy was telling us about. He wants his quarterback to be mobile and move around.
Crosby kicks it toward the end zone, and Danny Amendola is going to give it a try. Out across the 25-yard line. Yeah, and the Packer defense, which got run on by Cedric Benson, 140 yards last week. Plus, yeah, Jackson has had his moments, but they never let him get out into the clear.
They've pounded him. They give him consistent carries. He has gotten over 100 yards rushing, but you're right, he hasn't had that one big breakout run. And right now with Green Bay getting this win, you got to wait and see what happens with the Minnesota game, but they're going to put themselves in position for next week's matchup to be for that division lead.
They'll play it on Monday night, assuming the Packers hang on here, with Bowler trying to lead the Rams. And he just gets rid of that.
Great coverage by the Packers there. Kyle tries to buy time. He moves around in the pocket. Smart decision throwing that ball away, but the Packers just had everybody covered on that.
There was some talk when the Rams used their #1 pick on Jason Smith. When you think about quarterbacks, should they draft Mark Sanchez? There was some debate in the building among those decision makers. But Mark Bulger under contract, they figured regardless of who the quarterback is that we would take, we got to have somebody to protect it. On 2nd and 10. Smith did not play today because of the injury. And that's complete to Randy McMichael across the 45. And Bowler came on because of the shoulder injury to Mark Bulger.
Great protection by the Rams offensive line there. Everyone in the building knows this is a passing situation. He drops back. His eyes are to the left. He's trying to get the one-on-one matchup on the left boundary. It wasn't there. Kyle did a good job of getting his eyes back inside and finding Randy in the middle.
In a hurry up here. Pass low for Steven Jackson, who has to go down to get it. That 6'2" frame rolling over. 2nd down, clock running.
Great catch on a low throw from Kyle. Steven does a good job of keeping his hands. The negative of that, he stays in bounds, keeps the clock running. That's the one thing working against the Rams right now, is they've got to get the clock stopped because they need several scores to get back in this game.
Jets on top of Tennessee. Lions leading, trying to get their first win of the year. Passes behind, but Jackson makes a nice catch and goes out of bounds across the 35-36-yard line of the Packers.
And it looks like that's the matchup that they're going to try and attack right now in this 2-minute offense. The receivers aren't getting open downfield, but you got Steven Jackson one-on-one on A.J. Hawk. The speed right there, he just gets separation, and Kyle puts a much more accurate throw that time and gives Steven the ability to run away from A.J. and get out of bounds.
16-yard pickup, first down, 3:30 to go here in the 4th quarter. Kenneth Darby is in the game. Bowler slips one tackle. Charles Woodson tries to take the ball away as he goes down at the 30.
And as this game wraps up for the Rams, there's going to be some decisions that have to be made this week. Mark Bulger was hurt, left the game with an injury. LaRon Robinson left the game with an injury. Butler left the game with an injury. There's a lot of their starters that have been hurt. So how are the Rams going to adjust from this point forward?
Well, they'll need help. They'll need some bodies at wide receiver, depending upon the extent of the injury to LeRon Robinson. Steve Spagnuolo's team at least showed more offense today than they had in the 2 previous games. 3rd down, penalty flag.
Depending on what the extent of the injury is to LeRon Robinson, how quickly Ravel Martin can get back.
False start, 73, offense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
The Rams are going to have to find some help at the wide receiver core. They have to bring in some bodies because right now, like you mentioned, there's only 3 healthy guys in that unit.
So with the penalty and 2:43 to go, the Rams will lean on Keenan Burton, the 3rd receiver, and Donnie Avery. They just picked up Danny Amendola this week. We've seen him on the return game. Can they strike one more time? Bowler goes short. Covering is Tramon Williams on Donnie Avery. Tramon Williams coming off career highs in interceptions and tackles for this Packer defense. And we have our timeout called by the Rams. And it looks like there's also a player down hurt, and that looks like Donnie Avery's in pain. So 2 timeouts remaining, a 4th and 5 for Kyle Bowler. He's got time, and then he flips underneath, incomplete. And that was intended for Daniel Fells. The Packer offense will take over, and Packer fans hoping that Mike Singletary and 49er team can hang on against Minnesota. And once Green Bay closes things out here, they'll be in a tie for the top spot in the NFC North Division and set up their matchup a week from tomorrow night in Minnesota.
In Minnesota, and there's a particular quarterback on the other side that I'm sure the Packers are excited to see and looking forward to meeting old number 4 again.
And what was the one reaction when you brought that up with Aaron Rodgers? Jeff Blum from the Packers said that's the story's over there this time. It's going to be about Aaron Rodgers and the Packers.
That's right. It's not on the Packers side of the ball. That's the story for Minnesota to deal with next week.
Rodgers talked about this team finishing strong, and they've been able to do that. They were very committed to the run despite not big gains from Ryan Grant, but it helped do what they wanted to do, set up big pass plays as we get a timeout from the Rams. 2nd down 8 here. 22 seconds away from the 2-minute warning as Ryan Grant knifes across the 35, and it looks like we're going to get another timeout here, and the Rams will have 1 remaining. Packers thought of themselves as a playoff team, and this is the kind of game you have to win regardless of the opponent or the situation. And they've come out here after the disappointment of last week and owned this game.
And Mike McCarthy talked about that. He said the focus has been better. He thought the intensity was better in practice all week. There were a couple of scuffles that he mentioned, but he liked that. He thought that the team didn't respond well enough the first 2 weeks, and he was excited to see the intensity that they showed. And to another level, Aaron Campman was talking about on the plane, in the hotel, talking about guys being more focused, watching film on the plane, talking football as opposed to being distracted about a road trip. They came in, they got the job done today, and they're setting up their matchup next week against Minnesota.
And Aaron Rodgers, no turnovers, no interceptions, you pointed out, coming into the game. I know Ryan Grant felt bad about the fumble last week, which was a key turnover in that game. Wanted to do his part in this game as he carries across the 45-yard line. And the 2-minute warning is seconds away.
Laurinaitis ready to stop for St. Louis. 1st down, Green Bay.
Will Blackman, and they can afford to be jolly. Johnny Jolly got a hand up to block a field goal attempt, had an early fumble recovery. The Packer defense doing its part. A.J. Hawk and Nick Burnett from the linebacker spot. And Ryan Grant has done his part to chew up some of the clock and wear down the Ram defense as the Rams burn their last time out. Let's take a look. Green Bay ready to go to 2-1. The Rams falling to 0-3. And for the Packers, the game you talked about on Monday night, they get a break. They hope to get healthier at the safety position. And then looks a little bit easier with a home game against Detroit. The Lions try to win their first game of the year today.
You never want to take anybody for granted. Obviously, next week's big game against Minnesota. They do hit the bye week, and like you mentioned, Detroit is in position to win their first game in a couple of years. So can't take anybody lightly, and Detroit being a divisional game for Green Bay, that's going to be one that's going to be important down the road when you start talking about playoffs.
Steve Spagnuolo beginning his head coaching career. His mother was a teacher. He still sees himself as a teacher. And with this young Ram team, hoping to move them in the right direction. 13 straight losses for the Ram franchise as Grant carries again, and this Ram schedule for Steve Spagnuolo, San Francisco, which has been a major surprise with their success this year. Very difficult, and they'll get a shot at Detroit November 1st.
Steve Spagnuolo talked about changing the attitude and changing the culture in St. Louis, in the Rams locker room, around the Rams facility, and he understands it's going to be a long process. He's liked the attitude and the approach that the players have taken, that the assistant coaches have taken. They looked to play much better today. They had this game within 6 points, and then things fell apart on them.
The Rams are out of timeouts. Aaron Rodgers going to run things down. 13 out of 23 for 269 yards for Aaron Rodgers. He threw for a touchdown to Donald Driver. He had 6 rushes for 40 yards and, of course, ran for a score.
And we talked with Aaron about his stats, his numbers, what the offense was able to do. And 13 out of 23, it doesn't live up to what he did a year ago from a completion percentage standpoint. But what he's done is he's taken care of the ball. Once again, he goes through an entire game with no interceptions. That's 3 games this year with no interceptions. Yes, his completion percentage is down, but he's making better decisions, running the ball, moving around in the pocket, and throwing the ball away when he needs to.
Donald Driver with 4 catches and 95 yards today. And the Packers behind Aaron Rodgers, his arm and his legs, and the veteran Donald Driver defeat the Rams 36-17. St. Louis 13 straight losses. They fall to 0-3. Meanwhile, the Packers go to 2-1.